The Kelly Clarkson show studio was alive with the familiar buzz of pre-show activity, the controlled chaos that made live television feel electric. Stagehands moved hurriedly, adjusting lights and microphones while producers huddled around monitors, whispering directions and final notes. The audience filed into their seats, chatting excitedly and waving signs in anticipation. Everyone knew today's guest was Keanu Reeves, a figure whose understated charm and decades-long career had earned him a devoted following. Social media had been ablaze for days with speculation about what he might reveal, and the excitement in the room was palpable. Fans whispered among themselves, debating whether he would be funny, introspective, or quietly charismatic, and everyone was eager to witness his legendary calmness on live television. When Keanu entered, there was an immediate hush that quickly turned into applause. He wore a simple, tailored black blazer over a dark gray shirt, the epitome of casual sophistication. Every step he took seemed deliberate yet effortless, exuding the quiet confidence and humility that had endeared him to fans over the years. He waved gently at the audience, offering his signature modest smile, acknowledging the applause without fanfare. Despite the serene exterior, there was a subtle alertness in his gaze. He had been in countless interviews, countless talk shows, yet he knew that live television could be unpredictable. He had come prepared for questions about his career and personal projects, but he was also ready for the unexpected. Kelly Clarkson rose to greet him with her warm, exuberant energy, clapping her hands lightly as she extended her arms. "Keanu, it is such a pleasure to have you here today," she said, her smile wide and welcoming. "We have so many fans excited to hear from you." Keanu returned the smile, nodding politely. "Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation." His voice carried a calm, steady tone, the kind that made people lean in closer, eager to hear him speak. The cameras rolled, zooming in on the two, capturing the subtle details of posture, gestures, and expressions. The audience clapped, some standing, some waving signs with slogans like, "Keanu Forever," or, "Reeves Rules." The stage was set for a smooth, enjoyable segment, the kind that would make headlines for weeks to come. The initial conversation was lighthearted. Kelly asked about his upcoming projects, his experience filming high-profile movies, and the nuances of portraying characters that had become iconic in pop culture. Keanu responded with dry humor, offering small anecdotes about behind-the-scenes moments that left the audience chuckling. His answers were measured, thoughtful, and grounded, a stark contrast to the over-the-top energy often expected in morning television. At first, the exchange was perfect, engaging yet calm, entertaining yet insightful. Then, Kelly posed a question that subtly shifted the energy in the room. "Keanu, you've always been admired not only for your work but for your quiet, humble approach to life. Some people have speculated that you tend to avoid engaging with Hollywood politics or speaking on social issues. How would you respond to that?" Keanu's face remained composed, but there was a slight tightening of his jaw, a subtle sign that he was carefully measuring his words. "People often make assumptions based on what they see on the surface," he said evenly. "I choose to focus on my work and the people I collaborate with. I try to make a positive impact in ways that feel authentic to me. That's my priority." Kelly, sensing the potential for tension but maintaining her professional poise, leaned slightly forward. "I understand that, but some critics argue that staying silent could be seen as avoiding responsibility. With your influence, shouldn't you speak out?" Keanu's calm exterior shifted subtly, his tone gaining firmness without aggression. "Influence doesn't automatically come with obligation," he said. "I speak and act where it matters to me, sincerely. But I won't speak for the sake of appearances, or to fit into someone else's narrative. That's not helpful to anyone." The audience was quiet, sensing the shift from casual conversation to something more serious. The studio staff exchanged worried glances, knowing that live television had veered into uncharted territory. Kelly smiled, trying to maintain her friendly demeanor, but there was a trace of tension in her eyes. "But, Keanu, don't you feel that fans look up to you and want guidance? Silence can sometimes be interpreted as agreement with the wrong things." Keanu leaned back slightly in his chair, the intensity in his gaze never wavering. "I am very aware of my boundaries," he said. "I will engage in meaningful discussions, but I won't participate in a conversation that is framed to provoke or judge me. I came here to talk about my work, my experiences, and my life on my terms, not to be cornered or criticized for the sake of entertainment." A ripple ran through the audience. Cameras lingered on Keanu's composed yet authoritative stance and Kelly's carefully maintained smile, which now faltered just slightly. The production crew whispered urgently to one another, realizing that the segment had become far more volatile than anyone had anticipated. It was no longer just a standard celebrity interview, it was a live assertion of personal boundaries and integrity. Kelly attempted to regain control, her tone still professional but with a sharper edge. "Keanu, I'm just trying to give your fans a chance to hear the real you. Can you offer some clarity?" Keanu's expression remained calm, his voice measured but firm. "I have been clear. I've shared what is meaningful to me. I will not continue a conversation that has been redirected toward assumptions or judgments. My story is my own. I came here to discuss my work, my projects, and my experiences. Nothing else." The studio audience was captivated, many leaning forward in their seats, realizing they were witnessing a rare moment of live television intensity. The exchange had transcended entertainment, evolving into a statement about autonomy, respect, and self-respect. Kelly, for the first time during the segment, seemed caught off guard by the depth of Keanu's conviction. Her smile remained, but it was strained, the polished veneer of a morning show host tested by the quiet force of his words. The moment Keanu Reeves stepped off the stage, the atmosphere backstage was thick with a mixture of adrenaline and disbelief. The usually controlled and orderly hum of the Kelly Clarkson show studio had shifted into an unpredictable energy that no one could quite manage immediately. Crew members whispered urgently into their headsets, producers moved swiftly between monitors, and assistants scrambled to adjust cameras and lighting, all trying to regain control of a broadcast that had veered sharply off script. The commercial break had been called abruptly, yet even as the feed cut, the tension lingered like a heavy fog, a silent acknowledgement of the extraordinary moment that had just unfolded in front of millions of viewers. Keanu paused in a quiet corner of the studio hallway, away from the bright lights and the murmur of the audience. He took a deep breath, steadying himself as he reflected on the events that had just transpired. His calm exterior had never wavered on camera, but the weight of live television and the sudden intensity of the confrontation with Kelly had left a subtle imprint. Still, he knew he had acted with integrity, defending the boundaries of his personal story without succumbing to provocation or performing for the cameras. The choice to walk off had been deliberate, a clear signal that his time, voice, and narrative belonged solely to him. Back in the studio, Kelly Clarkson composed herself as the camera returned live. Her smile was polite, controlled, yet beneath it lingered the faint shadow of surprise and tension. She gestured toward the audience, who were sitting with a mixture of excitement and unease. "Well, sometimes live television throws us a curveball," she said, her tone carefully measured, attempting to both acknowledge the disruption and move forward. "And today, we certainly experienced one." The audience responded with tentative applause, some clapping out of sympathy, others out of admiration for Keanu's decisive action. Producers quickly guided Kelly to pivot to safer, pre-planned segments, directing attention to uplifting stories from across the country. They cut to videos highlighting local communities, human interest features, and light-hearted entertainment news. The shift was designed to diffuse tension, but the reverberations of Keanu's departure continued to hang over the studio. Crew members whispered amongst themselves, acknowledging that this incident would dominate headlines and social media feeds well beyond the day's broadcast. Meanwhile, social media erupted. Clips of Keanu standing, calmly stating his refusal to continue the conversation, and walking off the set spread rapidly across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hashtags like #KeanuStands, #RespectBoundaries, and #KellyClarksonShow began trending within minutes. Fans praised him for his courage, highlighting his composure and his refusal to be coerced into a discussion he deemed unfair. Comment sections were flooded with admiration for his calm authority, some viewers noting how rare it was to see a celebrity assert themselves so strongly while remaining polite and measured. Backstage, the production team convened quickly, attempting to assess damage control and draft statements for potential media inquiries. The network's social media team was already monitoring trends, retweets, and viewer reactions, gauging public sentiment. Some executives were concerned about ratings impact, while others acknowledged that moments like this could generate a unique form of attention, raw, authentic, and impossible to fabricate. Keanu remained calm amidst the chaos, sipping water and maintaining a composed demeanor, fully aware that his actions would resonate far beyond the studio walls. Several minutes later, Kelly returned to the set to address the audience directly. Her expression had softened, and she attempted to shift the mood with a lighter, more conversational tone. "We're going to move on to some really heartwarming stories from around the country," she said, glancing at her co-hosts and cueing the next segment. The audience clapped again, this time with more relaxed energy, but the tension had not entirely dissipated. Every viewer, from the live audience to those watching at home, still carried the memory of Keanu's calm but firm words.